And what did I see? Coming for to carry me home. A band of angels coming for me. Coming for to carry me home. If you get there before I do, coming for to carry me home. Tell my friends that I'm coming soon, coming for to carry me home. Sweet Lord, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Sweet Lord, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. The brightest day that I ever did see, coming for to carry me home. When Jesus washed my sins away, coming for to carry me home. I'm sometimes up and sometimes down, coming for to carry me home. But still my soul feels heavenly bound, coming for to carry me home. Everybody. Sweet Lord, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Sweet Lord, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home.
I want to preach this morning about coping with the compassion drain. Coping with the compassion drain. And before we do so, let's ponder the prayer that's printed in the bulletin. Shepherd God, you call us into a rhythm of work and rest, that our lives may be the better for it. So shape our leisure and our labor, that the world will recognize us as Jesus' disciples and our ministry as what you would have us do. Amen. How do people who understand that we are created to be neighbors and care for one another in the power of God's love deal with the constant demand of suffering people for help? That's the deal. That's the deal. How do people who understand that we are created to be neighbors, we are created to care for one another, how do we deal with the constant tug, pull, drain of suffering people who need help? Today's sermon invites us to ponder the tension between compassionate living and leisure and how that tension affects our sense of life in God's love and living in community with God and others in God's world. The first passage that we read together from Mark 6:30-34 is an account about the aftermath of the 2x2 mission efforts by the disciples of Jesus throughout villages across Galilee that Jesus commissioned them to undertake at Mark 6:7-12. We read at Mark 6:13 that the disciples cast out many demons and anointed with oil many who were sick and cured them. And at Mark 30, we then read that the apostles gathered around Jesus and basically gave a report. This is where we went. This is what we did. You sent us out 2 by 2. We went out. This is what happened. Okay? If you're going to have homework, you got to turn it in. Right? And so this is the disciples saying, hey, we did our homework. Here's the report. Then we read the passage, we read the word at Mark 6:31. He said to them, come away to a deserted place all by yourselves and rest a while. That's what Jesus said. And then there is this narrative report. There's this comment. The comment is, for many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. They had no leisure even to eat. One consequence of being compassionate people in a suffering world is that we risk wearing out. We risk wearing out. We risk getting drained. Suffering people are all around us. And as we develop awareness and ability to address those situations in the strength of God's compassion, we will expend energy hearing and helping our suffering neighbors, and compassionate living drains us. Have you ever felt like just when you thought you had handled everybody else's issues and couldn't handle anymore, and you just need to have a break, go lay down and take a rest, the phone rings? Email, beep, beep, beep. Okay? Text comes in. Can you help me? I know. Here's a call. Are you busy? And you know what your pastor wants to say. No, I wasn't doing nothing all the time, just waiting for you to call me. I just been out here loafing all day, and I've been waiting for you to call. Notice that Jesus directed the apostles to follow him to a, quote, deserted place for rest and leisure. Living in the power of God's compassionate love doesn't mean we won't get tired. It doesn't mean you don't need to sleep. It doesn't mean you don't need to take a break. It doesn't mean you don't need to chill. Hello? And if you're going to be honest with yourself, you have to realize that what this passage tells us is that Jesus recognized that after engaging in that 2-by-2 ministry, in that intense kind of way, with the attention that that ministry attracted to this ministry, they couldn't chill where they were. The only way they would get some rest was to get away. Okay? Somebody say get away. Now, let me tell you something. You can't get away all the time you want to. Hello? I mean, all of us have been in situations where we realize, as tired as I am, I can't leave this. I can't leave this. There's too much. I need to tend to this business. I need to take care of this love. Loving issues require us to be present. And sometimes we cannot afford to leave. But at times, we need to be able to schedule breaks. God knows we need rest. God knows we need leisure. God knows we need time and we need distance away from the demands of compassion. We need time and distance away from calls for help. We need time and distance away from fighting oppression. We need time and distance away from the slings and the arrows of resisting the powers of empire. We need time and distance away from the oppression of phones and text messages and email and social media. We need time and distance away from folks calling us from the job. Hello, somebody, saying, I want you to fix this. Calling you on your off day. Calling you when you're supposed to be off and saying, listen, I know you're supposed to be off, but I'm trying to help somebody. It is essential that we set aside time and distance for rest and for leisure. We must take the initiative for doing that. Notice, Jesus said, come get away. The people didn't say, Jesus, you need to take a break. Hello? If you're waiting for folks to give you a break, you will wait your life out. Hello? The folks didn't say, Jesus, you need to take a break. You look tired. Jesus told the disciples, hey, we need to get out of here and get some time and distance in a deserted place. We have to take initiative for that. Suffering won't stop while we take off, but we need to take off anyway. Let me say it again. Suffering won't stop while we take off. The world will not go on hold while you're on break, but you still need to take a break. Hello? Mark 6:31, for many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. Hard question. Where do you go to get away from the demands of compassionate living? When did you last take time to get away? When did you last take time to recharge, to refresh? I confess, 2 hands up, all fingers, I confess to not taking the rest and leisure example of Jesus. And I suspect I'm not the only one in the house. I suspect I'm not the only one in the house who is guilty of being habitually busy. My business is being busy. I rest being busy. I'm so busy, I don't know when I am not busy, and I feel uncomfortable when I'm not busy. Anybody resemble that remark? Hello? When I sit down and I don't do nothing, I go to sleep because I'm so tired. When I wake up, then I feel guilty about going to sleep because I was tired. Hello? Anybody feel there? That's not a comfortable thought. That's not a comfortable thought. Notice that suffering people were waiting for Jesus and disciples when their boat landed for what was intended to be a retreat. Before there were phones, hello, in a word-of-mouth era, somehow people who were oppressed by illness and the absence of affordable health care treatment had found out where Jesus and disciples were headed and had gotten there. Hello? They didn't do this. Hey, Jesus is coming to where you at. No. The word has somehow gotten around. They were waiting for them at the retreat location. And notice something. The feeding of the 5,000 occurred when Jesus was supposed to be on retreat. So the first lesson we get from this is to take time and get away for rest and leisure. But the second lesson is we need to remain ready and willing for God's power to work through us even when we're supposed to be resting. Let me say it again. We need to remain ready and willing for God's power to work through us even when we're supposed to be resting. Notice something. God's love and power doesn't stop when we take off. Suffering doesn't stop when we take off, and sometimes we have to learn the lesson that is between verse 34 and verse 53. Between verse 34, Jesus fed the 5,000. Between verse 33 and verse 53, Jesus went up on the mountain and prayed. Between that passage, Jesus walked on the water. Now we go to verse 53. Jesus had fed the 5,000, spent a night in prayer alone, walked on the Sea of Galilee. Now he and the disciples land at Gennesaret. And when they get there, a crowd of suffering people flock to him seeking healing from various health conditions. Notice something. Gennesaret was a town on the western shore of the Sea of Galilee where mineral hot springs had attracted the sick and injured for centuries. So Jesus landed in a place that was supposed to be a therapeutic place for people. He went where he knew there would be sick people, but he went where sick people would go to get mineral water treatment. Now, when he landed, he was recognized as being a healer. And he was confronted by people who wanted to touch him, wanted him to touch them, wanted him to be healed. And the text says wherever he went, where he went to cities, he went to towns, went to farms. Notice the three. Cities, big places. Towns, little places. Farms, remote places. Cities, populated places. Towns, less crowded places. Farms, isolated places. Wherever he went, folks found him and found him and found him and said, I got somebody sick. It could be that people are always calling you because they see in you a healing person. And if they see in you a healing person, they see the power of God working in you, they're going to see it wherever you are. Did you understand? You are you wherever you go. Hello? You are you wherever you go. And wherever you go, when you get there, you're going to be you. You may be tired, but you're going to be you. And if you are a hater when you left home, you're going to be a hater when you get where you get. If you are a healer when you left home, you're going to be a healer when you get where you go to. And if you are known as being a healer, the word about you is going to be, hey, she left, was gone on vacation, and when she gets on vacation, there are going to be some suffering people there, and believe it or not, the suffering people have a way of finding the healing people. I like to think of it this way. Suffering people have healing people radar. Suffering people have healing people radar. They have a sense. The question is, do healing people have suffering people sonar? Suffering people have healing people radar. The question is, do healing people have suffering people sonar? Do we have the sense for people who are suffering? Jesus got to wherever he went, and there were suffering people. And the question for us, the challenge for us, is how do we balance our need for rest and retreat alongside the divine imperative to be people of compassion? Because you see, there's a tension. There's a tension. On the one hand, we are called to be people of compassion. On the other hand, we need rest and retreat. We need rest. We need to retreat from where we're known to be active in order to achieve and to experience leisure. Yet even when we try to get away, suffering people can and will find us, because suffering people have healing people radar. Well, one approach would be to say we're on retreat, and therefore I really don't want to be bothered. Hello? I'm on retreat. I suppose we could turn off the phone, disengage from social media, put on our I am cool sunglasses, you don't know who I am now, and pretend that we are not who we are so that people won't know that we are really who we are and therefore will not find us. behave as if God doesn't want us to attend the suffering people while we're on retreat because we need our rest. I get the sense that Jesus tried to do that once. In the next chapter of Mark 7, Jesus went on an intended retreat in the area of Tyre. He leaves the Galilean region altogether and goes to Tyre, a Gentile area. He went there hoping to hide from the demands of suffering people. And there, a Syrophoenician woman, a Gentile woman, somehow found him in the house where he was. Before there was a cell phone with a tracking device, this woman found him. Suffering people have healing people radar. This woman had a daughter who was demon-possessed. She was deranged, and she found him, and she begged Jesus to heal her daughter. And Jesus tried to put her off. I'm on retreat. And if you read the text real carefully, Jesus went to use some rather ungracious language. Used some ungracious language to get rid of her. But she wouldn't leave. She refused to leave him alone. Continued to beg him for heal a child. And the text says that she showed such great faith that Jesus eventually relented and healed the woman's child. He intended to be on retreat. He wanted to be left alone. He was trying to hide. He told her no, and she wouldn't leave him alone. And eventually he said, okay, I'm going. I give up. Truth. We cannot escape our suffering neighbors. That's the truth. We cannot escape our suffering neighbors. It is unrealistic to pretend that our suffering neighbors only deserve our help at times and on conditions that are convenient for us. I said it. I want rest. I need rest. But my suffering neighbors do not need to have help only when it is convenient for me. When you go to the emergency room, you don't want the emergency room people to say, listen, it's our break time now. Hello? We're off the clock now. We'll let you know when we come back. Suffering people cannot afford to wait for us to come off a break to get help. Another approach is to follow the example of Jesus in this passage and recognize that suffering people need and deserve our help when they seek us out. We may be trying to find a retreat in some place, at the very time a suffering brother or sister needs the compassion of God to work on their situation. And catch this, our retreat may be the providential time and the providential place for the person to get relief. Let me say it again in case you missed it. The very place that you and I may have intended as a place of retreat may providentially be the place and the time that the Spirit of God puts somebody who needs help where we are. So, preacher, how we deal with it? Glad you asked. Make time to get away, first of all. Secondly, go away. Don't just make time, go. Okay? Don't put it on the calendar. Get out. Rest and recharge as best you can. In the meantime, recognize that your retreat time and your retreat location may be the season and may be the site for the Holy Spirit to do liberating work for people you might not have otherwise encountered and who might not have otherwise been liberated had you not been in that place. And when that happens, follow the example of Jesus. Do as much as you can. Do as much as you can. And then steal away again. Try to find another place to rest and leisure. And then steal away again to another place to not be busy. And then steal away again to another place where you can chill. There will be another place. Find it. Retreat to it. When you get there, rest. Know that the Spirit of compassion will give you the wisdom and the opportunity to rest. Because the Lord needs you to rest so the Lord can help you get busy again. Amen.